Today's video is a little bit different, still covering over ESG, but before doing so, still continuing on College Football 25 season run. This is my next match going up against a Michigan player. Also, you guys are going to see some All-Pro Football 2K8 gameplay, but overall today's video is covering ESG football. So a lot of the content creators and current members that have been in the beta playtest session have been posting videos promoting, the beta session for people to join, and there has been a tremendous turnout rate that has everybody trying to get in. So, with that being said, of course, bear with them, be patient to be selected because there's a high volume of traffic of a ton of people trying to get into this closed beta session. Eventually, they are going to be opening up as the amount of players that they're trying to get in, because this next one, they're currently just having 100 players to be selected to get in, and then afterwards is going to be expanding on the amount of players that's going to be able to get, selected for the upcoming future beta playtest sessions. So everything's looking on track as far as that aspect, because they're trying to get more players, because with more people they're able to give more feedback and address a lot of issues within the game itself, so it can be improved and fixed much more quicker, and they can find things that probably for them within themselves that they test that they don't find. So that's why they're having these closed beta sessions. With more people, it just helps get the game out much more faster for the anticipated release that they initially have it for. It can be out quicker than expected. So, with all this being done, it's going in a positive direction. So, you have to take that into consideration as well. Still, you're going to have those people that didn't get selected continue to hate on the game. That's expected as well, with people that say, oh, there's no gameplay. That's all I need to know, that this game is fake or whatever the case may be. Guys, you got to be patient with the development process. We're in closed beta. Usually when games is in closed beta, that means they're gunning much more closer to the release of the game and also more gameplay footage. Now, for all the people that's in the closed beta, we have signed NDAs. For those that don't know what that is, it's non-disclosure agreements. If we fail to comply with that, we can have a huge lawsuit against us, as well jail time. We don't want that to happen. Another thing that people don't take into consideration is quality over quantity. So you want a quality game. Over the past years, or with current day and age of gaming, a lot of games now being made is catered to how much more profit can they make, how much money they can make through microtransactions. Games is not made like they used to be, where there's quality and fun and a full polished game. Nowadays, most of the games that's being made based off microtransactions are half-ass made games, games that get so much updates year in and year out, and it's just a continuation process of how that's being done. There's no game that's fully polished. There would never be a game that's fully polished. Even with ESG, it's not going to be fully polished, but the initial release, they're going to have a much more better product on day one compared to many games out there. They're taking the old approach. They want a quality game compared to a half-ass made game. And a lot of people can't take that patience into consideration nowadays. Another thing to take into consideration is developing a game, the process that goes into it, especially when you're starting from the ground up, funding your own money and investing everything that you have into getting the things to make a game, getting a dev team that you have to pay out of your own pocket. You're not getting paid yourself to do all this stuff. And they're coming up with no money to make this game possible. A lot of people don't realize that. This is not a AAA studio. It's a small development team, and they're just starting from scratch. And a lot of people don't take that into consideration. I always tell people, why don't you go out and try to make a game yourself? Try to get all the necessary things to make a game, from, the motion capture suits or any equipment and all that stuff, and also have a learning experience with coding or game design, graphic design, all the different areas that takes into consideration to make a game possible. A lot of people don't even have any experience with that, and plus, they won't invest their money into making a game from scratch possible. Aside from that, going more in detail about ESG, a lot of people ask me all the time, what is ESG like? They're all expecting that ESG is going to be exactly like how we have had with Madden college football over the past couple years, or in general, I call it the Madden way, the style of how we are accustomed to how Madden has always played. And it's a big note in a comparison to how ESG is presenting the game. It's not going to play how we have been accustomed to with EA Sports games. The closest comparison of a vibe and gameplay experience, what I can say is that they have the gameplay aspect catered towards more simulation football, which All Pro Football 2K8 and NFL 2K5 presented to us. And with that being mixed in with the smoothness of gameplay that we used to have back during the PS2 era of Madden and college football, then you intertwine all that together and mix it with the fun aspect when it comes to the user competitiveness and just the fun overall experience with team communication. You compare that with what we had with NFL Street. Then you take a comparison look at what NBA 2K has done with their My Park, the city mode, the neighborhood, whatever it's called for the online My Career aspect. Imagine creating yourself as, my career player in Madden or college football, but you're individually controlling them in a 4v4, 7 vs 7, or 11 vs 11. Everybody has to play their part. You take the character creation aspect, the build aspect, the archetype build that NBA 2K has with my career player, and the position that they choose. It's the same concept that they're implementing for a football experience, and that's what ESG is presenting to us. Like, honestly, when can you say that you was able to create yourself as a lineman in any of the past Madden games in the last decade or so? There's no Madden game that lets you create a lineman to experience the moments in the trenches. The last time that a lot of us old heads that we can recall is during the PS2 era, which, once again, that era of gaming was the golden era, especially for Madden college football. And when it comes to creating those type of positions that we haven't had since that era, I mean, ESG is bringing that back. So the best way I can tell you to experience it now is signing up in the closed betas. During these sessions, I got to experience with a lot of people that appreciated the chance to actually play on the defensive and offensive lineman positions. They have been enjoying every aspect of it, including myself. The times where I ended up playing as lineman, it felt so much enjoyable, especially from a competitive experience. Getting a pancake block or getting pressure on the quarterback hasn't felt satisfying compared to probably the last time I got a decent experience, especially from the defensive line, was Madden 21, because that version of Madden was the only game I was able to, somewhat use the engagement controls and block shed with these. ESG is bringing back that feeling that we also had back then during the PS2 era when it comes to just using the lineman in general, using the analog stick to do moves and bypassing or making blocks. So to see the amount of people that really had a fun and experienced time and currently doing so during the closed beta session, it's an amazing reaction and a great feeling to see others actually enjoying the game outside of just playing like quarterback, receiver, DB, the repetitive known skill positions or so that we have been always adapted to. But the main thing is that all positions are valuable to play, and you expect everybody to play their part, play their build, play their position correctly. And another thing that is massive is teamwork and team communication. Don't expect to come into this game and not talk, because without talking, you're not going to get that much wins in general. You're going to lose a lot of games if you're not even playing your role correctly. If you try to just play buddy versus buddy or so, like for instance, if you have a best friend that plays receiver and you're playing quarterback, don't expect to just throw him the ball every single time. Don't expect that you and your friend can just dominate a match completely by yourself, and also depend on the other players to actually play their roles. If they're not getting the ball, or if they're not working together with you and your friend, then it can lead to a lot of losses. Like for instance, the linemen, they don't have to block for you. They can just give up, pass rushing to get you sacked all the time. You're gonna create a lot of negative impacts towards, especially if you're playing with randoms. They're not going to want to play their role, their part, their position, because how you're playing the game. You're just catering to your best friend, or you're trying to control the game yourself. You can't be doing that in ESG. You have to play as a team. You have to communicate with one another. You have to tell, oh, you should block this person, or you should run this route based off the initial play call. You may change it up. You have to tell them what to do, who to guard, if you're going to pass off this player on defense. All this stuff, all this teamwork, all this communication is very key in this game. Don't come into this game without a mic. Also, for the meta gameplay that a lot of people assume that is going to be in this game, there's really no meta like what we're accustomed to with Madden or college football, where people can give out tips, tutorials on what's the best play, or what's the glitchy play, what's the nano blitz, what's a one play touchdown play. That is a thing to not even think about, because this game takes a lot of strategic play. It's more catered to simulation gameplay. You can't, once again, come into this game and expect to play like Madden or college football. You guys gotta understand, every position is user controlled by a live player, a human being. You can't expect them to be AI assisted in anything to do. They're not going to be assisted on playing coverage correctly, or making the block correctly, running the ball correctly. There's no assistance. Everything is user control, user responsive reactions. Now, sure, if you don't have a full 11 on 11 or 7 on 7, it can be like 7 on 5 or so. You're going to have those other position spots filled with AI. And the AI in general is very tough. They made it that way so it can be a competitive experience, even if somebody drops out of the game, or if you don't have a full team lined up with, like I said, a full 7 versus 7 or so. They made it that way to balance the gameplay aspect. So imagine if players dropped out right during the match, and you end up playing with AI that takes over. Imagine if they're not doing their part correctly or as dominant as they should be. Kind of like what you are used to if you play NBA 2K Online Pro Am. If somebody ends up dropping out, right, AI takes over their position. And for the most part, like on defense, a lot of people would just leave the AI wide open because they know for a fact that the AI is going to miss 99% of the shots. ESG is different. You can't leave like a wide out alone because it's an AI. They will make the catch. They will burn you if you're not playing them correctly. They thought of those things outside the box, took that into consideration, and made them very challenging. Once again, it makes it for a balanced experience. You have to play everybody the way that you would play a human being if it's AI controlled. Now, when it comes to player creation, build types, archetypes, yes, of course, people can copy other people's builds, but necessarily I don't recommend it, because one, that person may perfected that build. They play with that build much more better in comparison to how you end up controlling with. And then two, a lot of people may think that build is OP just because how that person plays with that particular build. Now, of course, over the closed beta playtest sessions that we had the past couple weeks, we have had people that stood out with certain builds. But we acknowledge those certain builds because some of those builds was very broken. Which of course the devs was already on top, done tweaking, and we saw a big difference in the next playtest session. But doesn't mean they're still not very dominant with what they established with that build. They just perfected some things that other people cannot perfect as far as like movement and just using the different mechanics that they have based off the build. If they're a shifty running back or dominant at route cutting, you're still going to have those people that are dominant user wise with their particular build. As far as copying, you can do so, but like I said, you may not perfect it as well as that other individual has done with their build. As far when it comes to just builds overall, everybody's going to have a different type of build. You're never going to really see the same build as what is called meta nowadays. That's really not a thing when it comes to ESG. So I'm gonna give you guys another example that took place during our tournament run that we had. We faced teams that was good with what supposedly one player dominated out in showcase. So we played teams that had a great run game. Reason why is because the rest of the people was playing their parts, blocking very well. They had a great blocking group of players that made the running back stand out. Or you had a group of great blocking passers. When they passed the ball, they was able to connect with a variety of different receivers, so it may assume that the quarterback was very good just because he had a lot of time in the pocket. You're going to see that when it comes to team play and scheme strategy play. You're going to have people that are well chemistry together, play well with a great team chemistry where certain players can stand out for them just based off how they go about playing. You can run against a team that has a very lockdown ball hawking defense. Every pass you make, they would pick you off for the most part. I mean, you're going to have those situations where those type of teams will stand out in a certain way just because the team chemistry is there. That's another thing. Team chemistry goes a long way when it comes to team communication. You can make those things happen when you have great overall team play. Now, with comes the team play, you also have to take into consideration the details that makes up for great team play. You got to look at everybody's individual build. How are they playing based off the build and the position that they're at? For example, there's going to be a bunch of pros and cons with players' builds. So, over the past couple playtests, we've noticed the pros and cons. So, if we seen a shifty small running back breaking free all the time, that's because he's fast but also has blocking behind him. But with him just breaking free, we know the cons that has an effect on his build, which will be trying to make more big hits on him so he can have his stamina drain, as well causing forced fumbles because he is a small running back. He can't break a lot of tackles, so you might as well go for a user strip so you can cause more forced fumbles out of him. Now, like I said, every build has a pro to it and then it has its cons. I'm gonna give you guys more examples of what I have experienced and faced against during the playtest session when it comes to builds. I have seen certain people break so many tackles just because they have a power running back build or a big overall power runner build, but for the most part, defensive players, especially at skill positions, have no tackling skill sets catered to the archetype. As well, they might be a small DB. That's why there's so many broken tackles happening against one individual. Because one, there's no ratings for tackling, or the ratings are very low. Two, they're small, going up against a big person trying to make a tackle. When you look at that from a realistic standpoint, that's what you want to see. And because a lot of people want to have a small, speedy build, they don't really think outside the box trying to make a balanced build. Probably like a 6'2", 6'1" DB, 200 pounds, has, at least 85 tackling on his build, and then kind of cater everything else around him to be balanced. Doesn't mean that you can't make builds like that where you focus everything on, the defensive side. If you just want to make a complete linebacker build, you can do so, but you also have to look at everything else. You may make a great tackling Ray Lewis type of build, right? But you may not put any speed towards him. It's gonna showcase. Your guy's gonna be very slow. But of course, if you come into like a gang tackle situation, if somebody breaks off a tackle, you're like the third person right there to make a stop. You can instantly stop the ball carrier. You can cause a forced fumble because you have high tackling, high hit power, and great user strip rating. I've seen at times people that make shifty Michael Vick builds. They are very elusive. They can do a lot of play action fakes, catch you off guard. They can roll out and just break free and make plays. But they may not be the most accurate deep ball passer or just an accurate passer in general. So they will miss a lot of wide open receivers, but they're very good at making busted plays out of nothing with their legs. You will see that with all different type of builds. I was going through different testing situations where I made pocket quarterbacks, scrambling quarterbacks, getting the feel for both, trying to make a very accurate deep bomb pocket quarterback, and when I done so, that showed. I ended up making a Randy Moss build at times. I just told the quarterback chuck up the ball when needed. If we need a huge pickup on like 3rd and 30 or 4th down, we don't feel like punting, just chuck up the ball to me. I'm going to catch it because I know for a fact my matchup is not as tall as me. He has no defensive coverage skills, no in the air ball ratings. I'm able to out jump him and just make these crazy miraculous catches. So, like I said, the mismatches is going to be there, the matchup differences is going to be there. You're going to have the pros and cons because everybody's build is going to be unique and different. I prefer balanced builds because where you're playing both sides, you're going to have double positions to play at, but it doesn't mean you don't have to cater your build to what I tell you. You can make your build however you want. If you want it to just be a small, speedy build, if you just want a fast person, you can do so. But you have to look and take into consideration how you're going to play at your secondary position. So, for instance, if you're a receiver DB build, you just make a small or a tall, speedy receiver, but there's nothing on defense. How you going to expect to play coverage? Yes, you got speed, but you also have to take into consideration how is your movement going to be because you have no defensive skills. You may not have the best strafing, backpedaling, agility, um, just attacking the ball when it's passed, especially on defense. You're going to have an indicator that may assume that, oh, the ball is going to go here, but because your play recognition is not high, then the receiver has a better chance to acknowledge where the ball is going to accurately be thrown. So you can come play super underneath where the ball is going to be anticipated at because that's what's showcased based off your ratings for your play recognition compared to the receiver that you're matched up against. That's another thing that they put into this last playtest session, especially with the first playtest session for the PS5, the play recognition difference with the indicator to track the ball. That was a hell of a learning curve. But it was great because it makes you focus your build on certain things, and of course, you want your play recognition much more higher than what it was. And you will see a big difference in your next match once you make those adjustments. So, guys, there's just a ton that goes into, especially the detailed moments when it comes to gameplay, how you're making the build. Because trust me, I soak up everything that I take during these playtest sessions. I'm testing out everything, and once again, I was considered to give more feedback than others because the feedback is crucial when you want the game to be fixed and addressed, especially on the issues. So I'm doing my part. I know others is doing their part as well, but I go into detail when it comes to these type of things. I pay attention. I experiment with. I test. It's just like when I compete in college football 25 or like how I done back then on Madden. Every single game is a kind of like a practice labbing experience. Everything from the scheme play, reading, reacting, adjusting. I take the same concept, I put it towards what I'm doing with testing and ESG. Now, another thing that we're getting close to gearing up is, of course, with more players, we're getting closer to the full 11 versus 11 matches, which is basically the Pro Am mode. I'm looking forward to that, and I can't wait to see how teams are being built together, seeing the team chemistry, how everybody's going to play their part. Also, another thing, special teams comes into great play. Like during the tournament play, we had quarterbacks that made like a half quarterback, half kicking build. So when it came to making crucial field goal attempts, it came into clutch because those people had kicking ratings and they was able to make field goal attempts. Or if they need to punt the ball and depend on the defense, they was able to do so. So like I said, every position matters. Every person, how they play is going to matter. Team communication matters. All this stuff that we haven't been accustomed to or really experienced. I know Madden has like the I guess the yard or whatever it's called nowadays. It's just in Madden, it's so arcadey. It's not like what ESG is presenting. And then also with NFL Street, it was more arcade compared to, simulation football. ESG is bringing that simulation aspect, but it's still fun. So they done very well with the balance between the two. Another gameplay detailed tip. So how we're so used to Madden college football way of just holding turbo, right? And you can also pull off a move during a full sprint, like juking while sprinting, spinning while sprinting, or just cutting on a dime while playing defensive coverage. You're able to just hold turbo and get like at full speed. ESG is different. You have to time when you need to hold turbo and not. Also, you can't just sprint and juke at full sprint. So for instance, if you're holding turbo and you try to juke, it's not going to happen in ESG. You have to let off the turbo button and then juke to make a cut move and things of that sort. So also goes for a defense, just tackling in general. You have to adapt to how to actually align yourself up with the ball carrier to make an very conservative tackle or big hit. You can't just hit the hit stick or just assume to dive at the ball carrier because you're going to have the computer assistance to make the tackle for you because it's steering you to make the tackle. Everything is timing, everything's based off the position as well that you're in, and it's just basically going to showcase off what your user skills and reaction is. Also, with like playing coverage, you have to strafe, backpedal, and know when to hold turbo to kind of start running and opening up your hips with the receiver if they're going to run past you, or let off turbo and then cut on, jumping a route and then hold turbo. It's all very detailed. And that's why it's going to be a huge, huge learning curve when everybody gets their hands on experience with ESG. Because, like I said, a lot of people is going to come into this game expecting that the game is going to play exactly like Madden in college football. And it's simply just not. Now, this last playtest, bunch of newbies assumed that it played like Madden. I had to teach majority of them. You guys know who you are if you guys do watch my content. But it was like, man, they ended up saying, I thought this was like Madden. It's clearly not even close to Madden. And that's what just shocked me to hear them say because, once again, they assumed that it's going to be like Madden when it's not. Hopefully these longer videos is a great way to help better understand ESG, what you're getting yourself into, and helps answer most of your guys' questions. And once again, if you guys got any questions, please comment down below on the video, or you guys can join my Discord community server where I can directly and quickly answer your guys' questions or concerns that you guys have about ESG and much more. Also, I have branched out my social media outlets. I just created an Instagram account, a TikTok account, so you guys can also interact with me on those. I will have a link down below in the description to all my social media outlets as well as X Twitter account. So I'm branching out more, giving you guys a variety of ways to reach me. So all that information is down below in the description to the links to all my social media outlets as well. If you guys are looking forward to joining possibly this next playtest session and future playtest sessions, which is going to be bi-weekly, which you guys can mark on your calendars after April 5th and 6th, which is the next one. Every other week, every bi-weekly weekend is when the playtest sessions is going down. So if you guys want to get in, all you gotta do is check out the link down below in the description to the sign up applications. Now, once again, I preached this in my last video. They're doing a different approach because of the amount of traffic of applicants now being able to sign up. They want to kind of keep it controlled, but also make sure that you guys are understanding what you are reading. They don't want to have people that's just reading things and not understanding anything that they read or retain anything that they're reading. They want to make sure everything is understandable from what you're given based off information to read. So, what they are doing now, after you sign up and apply, they will select individuals. Of course, for this next one's 100 total. The next one may be a lot more, but for right now, the next event is going to have 100 more new players to join. So they're going to hand select those. Then once you're contacted with the information, then you have to go through a questionnaire survey. It's pretty much, I believe, 10 questions, basic questions based off all the information that you read and retain. They want to make sure that you understand everything. And so you have to get all the questions right before they're able to send you the next step, which is inviting you to the actual closed beta Discord where all of us are currently waiting for you guys to join. And then it kind of limits that aspect where, you ask so many of the same repetitive questions, which was already answered in the information that was read. So they want to make sure that you're understanding everything and limit that aspect when it comes to joining in. But doesn't mean if you guys do get in and you still got questions, doesn't mean that we're not going to help you. We're still going to be there to help you guys, either if it's the devs or the veterans that have been playtesting it. We're willing to help you guys out as a community and get you guys situated. But that is the new process now, how they're going about selecting individuals to actually join. Because in the last playtest session and the few ones, especially when we got new people, we end up having them ruin a lot of times where we're trying to get a match going. They come into the lobby and we're unable to because it glitches up sometimes, or they're just there and they're AFK, and or they're not even communicating or letting us know if they're looking for a match or need help with anything. They're just there and it ruins everybody's experience. So the devs themselves wants to clean that up and fix that issue so it doesn't happen in the future playtests. They want it organized, and pretty much for all of us present and past beta playtesters, we know the rules, we know the structure of everything that goes down, and they want it to be more like that compared to what we've been dealing with the past couple test runs. And it feels when those situations happen, they believe that they just have somebody invited to playtest this game. They have no acknowledgement, no whereabouts, and because they're not communicating it back, it's a waste of a person being able to get into the playtest. And if they're not gonna give feedback or properly interact, it's a wasted spot that somebody else can take up and actually get into the involvement of playtesting, giving feedback, and much more. So that's why they're doing this new process. Also, with that being said, for all the applicants, you guys are put into a separate Discord, which is called a waiting room, which I will also leave a link down below in the description, because now that Discord server is open up to the public. This helps the devs get more people into these closed beta sessions much more better. And you guys can share that link to anybody else that is willing to get into the waiting room list and eventually get into the closed beta after you applied and done all the initial steps to do so. Also, for all the content creators that's currently in the beta playtest session, if you guys have played with me, please let me know if you guys are willing to link up and collab once the game drops. Also, it doesn't matter if you have a great supporting group on your YouTube channel or any social media outlets, or if you're a low content creator, I will be playing with anybody that's willing to link up as a team and get things going for ESG. So once that comes to a closer situation, I will be elaborating on all the people that I'm collabing with. So giving you guys support as well and letting you guys know as supporters for my channel, give you guys another outlet to also check out. So that's the future to come for my channel. And once again, I'm looking forward to help out and work with other content creators. If you're small or big, it doesn't matter to me. And lastly, everything once again is down below in the description for all the information that you need to go to, from the signups to my social media outlets and much more. Please check out the description, share this video, let others know. Once again, this game is going to take over for sure, and that's guaranteed. And I'm looking forward to playing with everybody, especially for the newcomers coming to the closed beta sessions that we are hosting, which once again, the next one is going to be on the PlayStation 5 and throughout, and it will be starting on April 5th and April 6th. Maybe a 3-day event, so it'll be probably April 4th, but as of right now, it's 2-day events on the weekends, and we just got to stay tuned. If anything's updated, I will let you guys know with an update video on ESG. Until next time, I will see you guys in the next one. I'm out. Peace.